How'd you back about that?
Yes.
Fair. Good morning. Let's call this meeting in order for the Torrance County Commission, June 22nd, 2022 regular meeting. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Mr. Candelaria, will you send a information, please?
We ask you, Lord, that you give us the wisdom to conduct this meeting in a fair and impartial way. We want to thank you for the blessings of the rain that we received during the night and into the day, and I hope it continues. We ask you to protect our people that are serving our country throughout the world so we can be free to conduct meetings such as this in religion and government and everything that goes with it. We ask you in this, your name, amen.
Amen.
Do we have any changes to the agenda?
Janice Barella, County Manager. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I do have a couple of requests to move some items up on the agenda. The first one is 12A, between Torrance County and Senate for compensation for the proposed 58.3 mile transmission line. And that is so that we can get our financial analyst to be in and out as quickly as possible. He has other business to conduct today. Also, the second request is for the sheriff's items, H and I under 12H and I. And one is to approve the submission of a grant for bulletproof vests. Another one is to approve a 5-year contract for tasers, body cameras, and unlimited cloud-based storage. The purpose for this request is today, some of our deputies are going to be go through their certification for their target shooting, that kind of thing. It happens beginning at 10 o'clock today, and they would like to be out there, all of them together working on that. So those are the two requests that I have.
12A, H and I.
Yes.
Where do you want to move them to?
Let's move them in between 10 and 11. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, where did you say?
In between after 10
Okay, thank you.
or 11. Item 5A, certificates in order. Employee of the second quarter, Dominica Garcia.
Janice Barella, County Manager. Recorder, nominations are brought forth to the Minute County Administration on nominations for Employee of the Quarter for the last 3 months. And these are brought forth by our employees, our staff, and it's based on what their performance was in the last quarter. Anybody that they saw that went above and beyond the regular job description, somebody that they just wanted to acknowledge as being an excellent employee and coworker. And we received nominations, and the selection was made for Ms. Dominica Garcia. Some of the nominations, let me read them. Every single day, Dominica maintains excellent customer service and a high level of professionalism as she handles IPA requests and as she deals with staff and the public. She's meticulous in her work and is vigilant in her effort to ensure that the public gains rightful access to public records. She's not shaken when faced with challenges. Instead, she works confidently with integrity through all challenges. Dominica always has a polite attitude and is a pleasure to work with every day. She's very deserving of receiving the Employee of the Quarter award. Another nomination reads, I would like to nominate Dominica Garcia. She always has a great attitude while at work. With the amount of stress and work she's faced with each day, it's amazing that she still maintains such a happy and professional demeanor. Dominica not only does her job, but offers to help others when they are in need. She stepped up for me when I needed someone, and I greatly appreciate her for that. I believe she deserves this award because she's a team player, and being a team player is what makes any business, company, or county stronger. Thank you, Dominica. And unfortunately, Dominica is not here to receive this award. She wasn't feeling well today, but I'd like to read what the certificate states. Employee of the Quarter is proudly presented to Dominica Garcia for excellent customer service, for high level of professionalism, meticulous when managing IPA requests, consistent positive attitude regardless of challenges. And along with this award comes 1 day of administrative leave. So she'll be able to take a day off extra that doesn't cost her annual leave or her sick leave. And we're very honored and happy to have her working for the county. And I'll make sure that she gets this certificate when she returns. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 6A, board and committee appointments. I'll give the floor over to Commissioner McCall.
Danielle, would you want to come forward for just a moment? As many of you can see in the agenda, we had a resignation on the Planning and Zoning Board. And this woman walking forward here is one of those that every time we need help or we think we know we need a board member, my mind goes to Danielle. And Danielle, I appreciate your willingness to serve on this board as my representative for planning and zoning. And thank you for stepping up.
Thank you, Commissioner McCall. Commissioners, thank you. County Manager, thank you. My goal in serving on the board is to strengthen our county, to participate in the management. I love Torrance County and I love the people in Torrance County. I will do my best to collaborate and to listen. I'll represent District 1 graciously and represent the county commissioners because I'm, first of all, a member of Torrance County. And when we work together, good things happen for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Make a motion for approval.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Commissioner Candelaria? Yes. Commissioner Schwebach votes yes. Commissioner McCall?
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 7, public comment and communication.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, we have 4 people signed up in the commission room for public comment. First one, Charlene Guffey.
Good morning, Shirley Duffy, Torrance County. On behalf of the Indian Hills, Squaw Valley, Woodlands residential subdivisions, we would like to thank the Deputy County Manager, Mr. Torres, for taking steps to make the Torrance County Park a little safer. He went and looked at the park and took our concerns seriously. Also would like to thank the Sheriff's Department for patrolling the park. Please continue to do this, and we're planning about the park to make it safer. I would also like to thank the County Clerk Office, ladies and gents, for all the hard work they do, from record keeping to trustworthy voting process and protecting the history of this county. Thank you again. My last thing is about our water. I encourage our county manager, Mrs. Barella, to contact the state engineer department to see if they would come to Torrance County and inform the commissioners, county manager office, planning and zoning department, and the planning and zoning boards, and all residents on the information on domestic wells, commercial wells, water rights, etc. More people are moving into our county and more businesses. I don't oppose growth. But when the New Mexico State Engineer Department says our valley is sensitive, that is an eye opener. The impact of our water systems are severe. There is more drilling of domestic wells, re-drilling of commercial wells is causing other wells to go dry around them. There is more problems than this commission thinks there is. Just in the Indian Hills, Squaw Valley and Woodland area, the New Mexico Water Service told me they are red flagging. That system can't handle any more homes, but they have to honor 30+ homes that were already plotted. What a strain we're having over there. We in Torrance County need to be good stewards to our water and our land. Just because we are finally getting good rain, which is good, but it don't replenish the feet of water that the years of drought has depleted. Torrance County needs an impact study from the State Engineer Department on how many more wells and commercial wells can it support. There should also be a change in how the commercial wells dump gallons and gallons of water onto the ground just to prove their rights. What a waste. I know that commercial water cannot be used for domestic use, but maybe use elsewhere. Thank you.
Fire Chief Don Dirks.
Dirk, Torrance County Fire Department. Kim here this morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, County Manager. We did manage to hit our deadline with our billing company and Medicare and Medicaid, the federal application. We are going to finalize that application today. And then as soon as we hear back from that, with all the fine tuning we had to do to it, we can actually, they will let us know when we can actually start the billing process, how far back we can go in our billing process. We've kept all the records and all that's all been done. And we're finishing that. We did receive our new ambulance, which we actually had it here at the last commission meeting for anybody in the public that wants to see it, the new ambulance with our auto pulses and our Zolls that we got with the ARPA funding and the appropriations. If anybody wants to look at that after the meeting, we'll have it out here so everybody can look at it. We're hoping with the new appropriations money that we're getting, hopefully at the end of this month or the beginning of July, that we can order another one. So we'll have more equipment to go with that. We do have some of our EMTs out here. Our newest is there on the right, Kyle Glazer, Felicia Mahan, and Chris Sanchez. All back here, they'll be, if anybody has any questions for them, you know, with the ambulance and all that, they can approach them and ask them anything. We have been super busy with lots of med calls. Been really busy, continues to be busy. We continue to have issues with Superior that we're working on. We're kind of hoping to get them out of here soon because we're having quite a few issues with them. And we are still trying to hire a higher level of EMTs that we're probably going to come back and ask that we change from paramedics to intermediates on our higher level. Come back and ask for that because we have had no interest in that so far with our hiring. So thank God for the rain.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And talking about with the fireworks ban, I'm gonna wait until at least next Wednesday, Thursday. It's supposed to rain again. If it keeps wet enough, we can lift the actual fireworks ban. I'm gonna keep the open fire ban in place until we see how that's gonna work.
So that was gonna be a question. I've had many phone calls this morning on the burn ban, a lot of brush piles that need to be burned. At what point do you foresee that being allowed?
I've been calling with the Forest Service. We're kind of keying off of that. They're talking about opening up the campgrounds and stuff like that, and maybe letting them start cutting as early as next week. So the open fire ban, it's a hard thing because it's gonna dry back out. But I'm kind of hoping, I don't want to make the move to get rid of that resolution and then have to turn around and do it again. I could maybe maybe do a temporary lift if it stays wet enough. So I could look at that too, maybe next week. If it continues to rain, I think we can maybe lift the ban for a few weeks, maybe if it continues to keep wet. But if it dries right back out, which it's a good possibility. I don't want to lift the ban because then we'll be right back in the same shape we're in.
Mr. Chairman, I have some questions. Do you have any indication how far back we can go back for the billing? Metro?
They're telling us anywhere from 2 to 4 months. March 1st, possibly. But we won't know for sure until they approve it.
I had another question and it skipped my mind. Oh, we know that Superior is not up to snuff on their contract. Do we need to take a more serious look at that and maybe have a personal conversation with me as to the direction you want to
Yes, we
go
do.
with that? Okay, get with me and we'll discuss it and then hand it over to possibly attorneys to look at that contract. Because in that contract, it says they shall have 2 units and they are not,
With a third available.
Right.
Yes.
and we're not any.
Never.
That. Okay. Get with me and we'll discuss that.
Thank you.
Destry Hunt.
My name is Destry Hunt and I'm a resident of Torrance County. Last meeting, we talked a lot about the voting machines and voting integrity. And no matter the outcome of last meeting, I thought it was pretty clear that we were most concerned about the machines and maintaining integrity of the elections. I was very surprised, Commissioner Candelaria, to read your quote. You said, our county clerk did an excellent job, and we didn't dispute that she did the best job that she could with those machines. I don't think there's a vote that went wrong in any way. How would you know? You didn't look, you wouldn't let us look. Candelaria said later in a telephone interview, my personal opinion, and these are the words that I guarantee, these are the words that we'll all remember. My personal opinion is there are people who are still mad about the last presidential election. Let's worry about the next election and not take things personally. We were worrying about the next election. Nobody said, I didn't hear anybody say a word about the last presidential election. We were working on the current election. This is a disingenuous comment.
I stand with what I said. I stand with what I said. That's it. That's my comment.
That's great. And we will remind you that you stood by it.
I stand with what I said.
So on that note, the only negative comment that was said that whole time about our county clerk I said I was bothered that I had volunteered to participate in the election. She told me once that she would use me, and I went to her and I said again, hey, what happened? And okay, well, you're on standby. And I guess she said they didn't need standby, so be it. So the only concern I have there, Madam Clerk, is that we have consolidated precincts. We've consolidated polling locations, I'm sorry, as we split precincts. So that is forced, and going back to some meeting minutes, it was because of a lack of volunteers and precinct judges. And so that forced these voting convenience centers. So what of those of us who have volunteered, and I specifically stated that I speak fluent Spanish and I would love to serve that people. And so why have we not reopened those polling locations? Why do we continue to use these voting convenience centers when we have ample volunteers? I'm just asking the question. Maybe there's a good reason. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Rob Wagner.
Bob Wagner, Torrance County. And Commissioner Candelaria, if you stand by those words, you clearly weren't listening to your constituents. I'm going to go and read. In the Supreme Court case, West Virginia State Board of Education versus Barnett, this is 1943, Justice Robert H. Jackson asserted, if there is any fixed star in our constitutional constellation, it is that no official, high or petty, can prescribe what shall be orthodox in politics, nationalism, religion, or other matters of opinion, or force citizens to confess by word or act their faith therein. The court also employed the compelled speech doctrine in Woolley versus Maynard, 1977, quote, the right to speak and the right to refrain from speaking are complementary components of the broader concept of individual freedom of mind, end quote. It's clear that as citizens of this great nation, regardless of our station, we cannot be compelled to voice what we don't believe by those who are in authority. This is why I feel the most important quotes from Friday's meeting are from Ryan and Kevin. Mr. Schweibach said, I'm sorry this is how you feel today, but this is the decision we were forced to make, end quote. I'm going to say that again, quote, I'm sorry this is how you feel today, but this is the decision we were forced to make. Followed quickly by Mr. McCall saying, just as we are elected, those who are forcing us are elected. Again, quote, just as we are elected, those who are forcing us are elected, end quote. Casting your vote is a protected act. Nobody can force you to go against what you believe unless they have control over you, unless you fear them. And the only way that you can, the only thing that leads to that is either coercion. And if that's happening, that should be shouted by the rooftops by you, or corruption. If it's the latter, that'll be shouted by the rooftops, just not by you. Which one is it?
Tracy Master.
Tracy Master, Torrance County DWI Prevention Program Coordinator. Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, members of the public. Just a brief update on some different events that have occurred recently. Last weekend, in partnership with the Office of Emergency Management, we hosted Service Appreciation Day in Moriarty. It was a first event of its kind, and we had probably about 400 people show up, and it was great. We had representatives from Torrance County Sheriff's Office, Edgewood PD, Moriarty PD, Estancia PD showed up, Torrance County Fire. There were just so many different groups. I don't even know who all was there, and it was great. And we had plenty of community members out there for that. Continuing to host online bingo, as well as in-person events. We've had in-person events in both Moriarty and Estancia. And we'll host an event on the 4th of July, Monday, the 4th of July at 4 p.m. at the Moriarty Lions Club. These events, of course, are all free to the public. And we do not charge for that because we don't want to get crosswise with the Gaming Commission. So this is a free event, and we provide donated prizes. Yesterday, I was able to train 13 new youth mental health educators at the University of New Mexico. This Friday evening from 7 until midnight, the Danny Duran Band will be playing at Lake Arthur Park. Earlier this week, we participated in the Edgewood Police Department Junior Police Academy, and I want to publicly thank Torrance County Sheriff's Office, Estancia Valley Youth and Family Council, and the team that came out from the Partnership for Healthy Towards Perpetual Tears Memorial, Inc., and Office of Substance Abuse Prevention, because we were invited to do this last Wednesday afternoon when I was out of town, and we managed to pull this off, planning everything via text and email. And I think there were about 80 participants who learned about DWI, field sobriety tests, vaping and the dangers of vaping, the relationship between bullying mental health, suicide, and substance use. And then on June 11th, and I realize I'm not going in any particular date order, but on Saturday, June 11th, we hosted in partnership with the town of Mountain Air, the movie Spider-Man No Way Home. So we've had a lot of folks attending our different activities. Really not sure what we'll be doing coming into the new fiscal year, but we're also talking with the town of Estancia to rent the swimming pool for some alternative prevention activities. And I stand for questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, that's all that have signed up for in-person comment.
Mayor Commission, there's no one on Zoom who wishes to speak.
Excellent. Item 8A, I make a motion to approve the May 25th, 2022 Torrance County Commission meeting minute, which was deferred from June 8th, 2022.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Commissioner Candelaria?
Yes.
Commissioner Schwebach votes yes. Commissioner McCall?
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 8B, I'll make a motion to approve the June 8th, 2022 Torrance County Commission meeting minutes.
Second.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, my apologies for the interruption. These minutes are not prepared and ready for review or for approval today.
They were not for public, they were not posted. I'll retract my motion. Item 9A, I'll make a motion to approve payables.
Second with one question real quick, Mr. Manager. Mountain States check that was written there for the 1,728,679. That was for the grant we received, correct? From DOT?
Mr. Chairman, or Commissioner Ken McCall, sorry about that. Yes, this is for the grant that we received from the state of New Mexico Department of Transportation, and it was for the pavement of Riley Road.
And then I see 116,685. What is that? Just the remainder? I know Jeremy's out. I'm sorry.
We're at a place where our finance director had resigned, and so we have our interim finance director, which is our deputy county manager. So I will defer that to Ron. He knows.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner, so with respect to that, so we do have approximately almost 500,000 left in there. Of this, we'll be reimbursed our portion. We still have our match requirement that has to be made, so we'll still receive on it. The project came in much lower than we originally anticipated and then was quoted, and that was due to the oils that the price was a lot lower. So we will have more, and we will have more moving forward potentially for it. We're trying to see if they'll let us reallocate it for something else on that road, but I know the grant was written in a specific way for a specific portion. So we're trying to see, if we can save that or if we're going to end up having to revert any funding.
And I don't want to get into too much discussion because I know it's budget, but I know there was some talk about maybe using some of that leftover money into finishing some more parts of that road or paving the shoulder a little bit more. So.
We have Leonard here today. Mr. Chairman, Commissioner McCall, you're correct. We started looking into what we could do, other ways that we could utilize that money on that road specifically. And it would still have to stay within the language of the agreement. So if, for example, we didn't stay to widen the road, we wouldn't be able to use it for that. I don't know, Cheryl, if you have any input on that, because I believe you may have been part of a conversation with Leonard, which is our road superintendent.
The only, really no other comments. It's just that we are investigating with the state what options we have available to either reauthorize or to amend the agreement.
Good. I'd heard those discussions. I just wanted to make sure we were still exploring our opportunities. Okay. Go ahead. Chairman.
Motion and second for approval. Any further discussion? Commissioner Candelaria?
Yes.
Dr. votes yes. Commissioner McCall? Yes. Motion carries. On to, On the agenda, we'll be jumping to item 12A. Agreement between Torrance County and Sunzia for compensation. 58.3 mile.
Commissioners, as the sheriff has a tighter time schedule than I do, may I respectfully allow him to make his item H and I before me.
Is that correct, Sheriff? Yes, I was unaware of that, by all means. We will up on item 12A, moving down to 12H. Mission of the Patrick Lay Bulletproof Vest Partnership Grant.
Torrance County, or Cheryl Allen, Torrance County Grants Manager. We are requesting permission to submit an application for the Patrick Leahy Bulletproof Vest Partnership. And we are going to request funding for up to 24 vests, which would include 21 officers and 3 vacant positions. The number could be less dependent on the expiration date on the vests that we currently have. It would be, the grant would cover 50% of the cost of the vests, which we're estimating at slightly less than 26,000 if we do need all 24 vests, which the grant amount would be for 13,000, and the Torrance County amount would be for 13,000 as well.
Is there opposed on our share where that's coming, what budget that is coming from?
We can use our LEPF funding for the vests, or we can use it out of our uniform funds. So we do have it to cover the.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Commissioner Candelaria?
Yes.
Commissioner Schwebach votes yes. Commissioner McCall?
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 12I. Discussing and possible action on a 5-year contract with Axion for tasers, body cameras, and unlimited cloud-based storage.
Sheriff Rivera. So I've prepared a lot of bullet points in this, so it'll be a little bit lengthy. In 2019, New Mexico enacted a law mandating the use of body worn cameras for all peace officers who routinely interact with the public. Law defined both the usage and retention periods of body worn camera footage for all the law enforcement agencies throughout the state. Section B of the law states that peace officers who fail to comply with this policy, with the policies and procedures required to be adopted pursuant to subsection A of this section shall be presumed to have acted in bad faith and shall be deemed liable for the independent tort of negligent spoliation of evidence or the independent tort of intentional spoliation of evidence. The law simply does not allow for any level of non-compliance, whether unintentional or not. At the time this law was enacted, the Torrance County Sheriff's Office had already been using body-worn cameras for several years. However, the new laws changed the way that TCSO gathered and retained video footage. At present, TCSO is using a local server system comprised of multiple hard drives where the footage is stored. Until recently, the system has been adequate as far as drive space. However, it is filling up quickly and will not meet our current retention guidelines without an upgrade soon. Additionally, the current system is the physical drive located within Torrance County. There's no offsite mirroring or backup system in place. A natural disaster or other catastrophic event locally would likely destroy the server and wipe out the retained video footage. The server is tied into the Torrance County domain, meaning it can only be accessed from computers connected to that network. None of the computers in TCSO patrol vehicles are connected to this domain. TCSO deputies cannot currently upload video from the field. To upload their camera, they need to physically come down to the sheriff's office and wait at least 15 to 30 minutes for the download to complete. The needs for the sheriff's office to immediately transition to a cloud-based CGIS compliance server system with unlimited data storage capacity is beyond critical at this point. A cloud-based system is not only mirrored in several locations securing the data, but it can easily be shared with other stakeholders. A cloud-based system has a complete audit history to maintain the integrity of the electronic evidence. A cloud-based system will allow deputies to upload their body worn camera footage from a Wi-Fi connection, such as the cradle points that we have in our units. This keeps the deputies out on the street and can be done in the background while the deputy is patrolling. The proposed expenditures, although not inexpensive, is the most fiscally responsible way to ensure that TCSO is in full compliance with state standards to limit potential civil liability for both the deputies and the county. The proposed Axon Core Plus bundle saves us 23 to 27% in overall cost if the items, which would be the cameras, video storage, tasers, training, and the additional support for the tasers were purchased separately. Furthermore, it ensures that both programs, the less lethal and the body worn cameras, are fully functioning for at least the next 5 years. Prior costs such as batteries and taser cartridges are included in the cost of this Core Plus bundle. Any device that experiences a malfunction, which be our tasers or our cameras, or would fail during this time, will be replaced and or repaired at no additional cost to the department. Under this program, Axon will replace the entire department inventory of body worn cameras at 2.5 years and again at 5 years, which is a significant savings for us. This ensures that the batteries are always at optimal strength and is like buying the cameras 3 different times during a 5-year period. Each camera currently is about $600 per deputy. Axon will provide the training cartridges, which is 8 per year, where the required is only 2 for each deputy to maintain their certification, as well as to allow for additional scenario-based training. They will also certify an instructor within the department to carry out this training. In addition to the training cartridges, Axon will replace all cartridges deployed by the deputies on duty. The current cost for a taser cartridge on the Taser X2, which is the one that we currently have, is about $80 each. So I don't have all the figures with me. Deputy County Manager Torrance, I believe, has those right now.
Yes, so this package would roughly cost $38,442 per year for 5 years. So it roughly comes out to, $192,250 over the 5-year period for it. When they provided the quote, I also asked them to kind of say, well, what would this be if we were to do this individually, so just the tasers and then the cameras and all that. And it basically comes out to about $48,061 per year, or $240,000, $305,000 over a 5-year period for this system if we were to do it kind of a la carte. So the bundle does save you versus doing it piecemeal. And I think you guys have the quote to know the amount for just the tasers alone, if you were just to upgrade the tasers for one time.
Yes, just the tasers themselves is $74,000. That's not including any of the cameras or any of the other support. And currently, Axon is not going to be providing any more support for the X2s that we currently have or the X26s. So that's why we have to switch to the new tasers. So it's a cost we're going to have to get anyway.
So I assume you're looking at this because all this stuff needs to be upgraded at this time, correct?
Yes, mainly our storage, but with the storage that we can get with this bundle and the camera system, it would be more cost effective for the department and for the county.
Commissioners, Stephanie, we also were awarded an $8,000 body camera grant that we can use that funding towards strictly the body cameras to help with some of that.
Which could apply to this contract also. How does it work if more deputies are added? I mean, is there a number of deputies equipped, or can we adjust the contract? And have we had our attorney review the contract?
I don't think we've had them review the contract yet, and I'm not too sure if we added more deputies. if that would raise our cost or how it would change 20. Because currently what we're quoted for is 20. We have 14 certified deputies. And that also includes the court and community services that also has to wear the cameras.
So we have 20 deputies that this would be fitting at this moment.
Yes.
Okay. So those are some questions I have. I would like our attorneys to review the contract before it's signed.
And Mr. Chair, Commissioner Juan Torres, Deputy County Manager. This is also a state contract pricing. So it is it's at least been vetted one time through the state with respect to the procurement portion. And then as Sheriff Rivera stated, one of the things that we will definitely have to be looking at one way or another is the current body cams. And if we stay with the current system, we're going to have to be modifying that NAS storage server. So there's going to be other things that are going to be coming one way or another. So in some form, this cost is going to be coming before you guys. Another thing to consider, this year is the start of the additional LEPF funding. So it's going to, I believe it's approximately additional 40,000, I think, more or less, is what will be distributed. So there's potential ways where we could fund this where it wouldn't require essentially too much given up additionally from the general fund. And also just with respect to funding, this was one of the conversations we did have with Jeremy before he did leave. And he said, we do have enough funding and we could technically fund it all 5 years right now, just from our savings from capital projects that weren't done or savings within the capital projects that you guys stated. So there is funding available. There is a mechanism for it. But we can always look at other options. I think with the reason this bundle was more appealing to them because it bundled the cameras and the tasers in one versus trying to go get a separate camera system and then getting the taser. And then in that way, when you add those two together, we're actually spending more money versus bundling it all with this one.
So one vendor, one entity that services it, and it makes sense. But if I'm understanding it right, it is not in the current budget we approved.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, that is correct, is not in the current budget. And this would be something that if it's approved, we would want to start now at getting this completed, not waiting to I guess we're pretty close to the new fiscal year anyway, but.
Are there other departments that are using this exact? Can you go into, it's been tried, true, reviews are good?
Yes, and actually Deputy County Manager Torrance has firsthand knowledge. He did that with Edgewood.
Yes, Mr. Chair, Commission. So we did actually transition to this service in 2019 with respect to the body cams. At that time, they didn't have the bundle with the tasers, which would have been phenomenal. But the system, it's a comprehensive, it's a very good system. The only problem with it is the storage. And so when I was with Edgewood and we did this, the option for unlimited storage wasn't there. So it was a little bit costly because now with these systems, the cameras trigger and turn on, those Axon cameras turn on. So it kind of takes the human error out of it with respect to like when they flip on the lights or something like that, it automatically activates them. So there's actually more storage than what we currently have because right now it's still the deputy has to remember to push the button. With this system. It doesn't necessarily go that route. Like if someone shows up on the call, it'll automatically turn on whatever deputy shows up's camera. So there's a lot more footage involved with it, a lot more stuff. So the unlimited storage makes it a lot more appealing, but the system as a whole, it was phenomenal. I mean, I can speak personally to it with respect to the IPRA end. I was just given an access to it. So if there was a request, for footage or something, I didn't have to trouble whoever was at the police department at the time. I could go in, search based on the case number, pull up the information, redact it, get it out. And that's the benefit of the cloud-based as well. You can control the access. You could give the access to like the district attorney, so they could pull that up and review it as well. So there's things in there to where it streamlines the process with getting that information to the people who need it. But it is a good system, albeit it's expensive. But even going the a la carte other way, it's still expensive as well once you factor in all the additional components and other things that you need to have in order to support it.
Yeah, but overall it's cheaper than what we need by 23%. Is that what you said?
Yes, 23 to 27%, I think is what it was. If I could add one more thing, it also has automatic redaction. So if you just put in license plates, it'll take out every license plate in that whole thing. So it saves our IPRA office time. If you want to put one person, say you want to get one person's face, the program will recognize that and it'll block them out throughout the whole thing. So the redaction time will be a lot quicker also.
So you did say it's cloud-based, therefore it's off-site storage.
Yes,
Okay.
and it's mirrored also. So unlike how we are right now, we have a physical server here in the county. If that thing goes down, lightning strike, a fire, whatever it is, we lose all our evidence for the past 3 or 4 years. With having offsite storage that's mirrored, it can have something in, say, Minneapolis and then another storage base in St. Louis. And so we won't ever lose that.
With regards to dash cams, is that, are the L-cams taken over for dash cams, or should we discuss that just a bit? Or is that going to be something that we're going to get hit with later on dash cams?
No, we currently have some dash cams right now. They're not very widely used. It's mostly the contact that we have once we get to the scene. That's probably the most important part.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I did visit with legal counsel and they said that they would be able to have a quick turnaround on the review of this contract.
I don't see any problems. I'll make a motion for approval, given County Manager Burrell authority to sign upon attorney review.
Second that.
Is there any further discussion? Commissioner Candelaria,
Yes.
Commissioner Schwebach votes yes, Commissioner McCall,
Yes.
motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now, back to item 12A. Agreement between Torrance County and Sunzia for compensation for the proposed 58.3 mile transmission line.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, County Manager. Before you is a proposed agreement between Sunzia and Torrance County for the first of their 2 transmission lines. They're going to build 2, so this is just the first agreement. This is the agreement that we presented before you with 2 minor amendments. Total compensation under this agreement is $1,166,000. Most of that is going to be paid in the 2024 to 2026 time period when they finish the actual construction. On section 2, we combine the first 2 payments into one, so the county will now receive $145,750 on or before July 31st of this year. That's one change that we made, and the other is we added, based on the suggestion of Commissioner Candelaria at the last meeting, we added a new number 8, which says that the company shall communicate with the county's emergency management office during the term of the agreement to ensure that all interactions between the company and the emergency management office are coordinated for the benefit of all contractors, county residents, and others that may be impacted by the construction. And that's the gist of 12A, Mr. Chairman.
It's so much per mile, right? Given across all of the state, every county is going to receive this amount based upon mileage.
Yeah, everybody, Mr. Chairman and Commissioner McCall. Yes, this is a template agreement. Quite honestly, what'll happen is Sunzia will enter into a master agreement with the Rural Electric Transmission Authority, RETA. They basically take the place of all the governments with respect to doing an industrial revenue bond. RETA takes your place. So this is an agreement that Sunzia is agreeing to with all of the counties along the transmission line. They really don't have to do this, but this is what they're offering to do. And again, the property tax abatements and what have you are all going to be done through the RETA, Rural Electric Transmission Authority. The county has the right to go to RETA with this agreement. We put that language in there and apply for consideration in addition to this agreement I don't know that that would be successful, but at least you have the option to approach Rita and ask for other considerations from Rita over and above Sunset.
So you said something there that perks my interest, and I may need legal counsel to further this. When a company does something that they really don't have to do, is there something coming later that we need to vet out?
I understand. I mean, this is one of these things where, like I said, I understand what you're saying. When the state legislature back in the mid-2000s created the Rural Electric Transmission Authority, they basically were taking authorities from every county in the state. Like right now, when you do your industrial revenue bonds with Pattern, we sit down and negotiate with them, and we do all of these, we put together these agreements. Because this is going through so many different counties, I think there's 7 counties in the state of New Mexico. The RETA was created basically to take that negotiating position away from each of the 7 counties and give it to the state agency. I think the intent there was that they didn't want one county holding the deal hostage and trying to get a better deal. And as you all know, we've been through that before with maybe another local in your county, other transactions. So I think they were trying to avoid that issue. So what has happened is, I think, and this is in conversation, so I don't, there's nothing in writing, because sometimes they don't put the stuff in writing. But I think this was kind of a Rita telling Sunzia, go make peace with the local governments. And so there you go. Didn't say it was perfect, Mr. Chairman.
There's nothing on the table.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner McCall, just a quick question. I was wondering why in the agenda it read motion to approve agreement between Torrance County and Sunzia for compensation, and the word compensation caught my eye. I'm just curious why it said that.
Please identify yourself as well.
Oh, sorry, I'm Mike Garcia. I'm your attorney.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Garcia, there is a compensation component to the agreement on page 2, section 2, number 1. The county will receive $145,750 on or before July 31st of this year. The county will then receive another $58,300 on before July 31st, 2023. And the remaining difference between those two payments of $1,166,000 will be received by the county in that time period, probably between 2024 and 2026, when they finish the construction. So because there's a compensation component, we had to put that in there.
So is it for right of way? Use of the right of way?
No, well, no, this is not a right-of-way agreement. No, this is not. This is purely a compensation and consideration agreement. The right-of-way is all being done through Rita. That is all granted them in like I said, back in 2000, in the mid-2000, when Rita was created, they got the right-of-way authorities granted to them to negotiate those with Sunzia.
So not to drag it out too long, but I was just curious what the consideration was, what the payment is for, what the county is giving in exchange for the compensation.
The county wasn't asked in 2000, mid-2000. It was taken. I understand what you're asking. I wasn't there. I didn't like this.
Okay.
I didn't create Rita. I didn't like Rita, but it's the law of the land, and it's what we're stuck with. So the one thing that we did put in this agreement is that nothing in this agreement shall prohibit the county from working with the New Mexico Rural Electric Transmission Authority to explore other considerations, agreements, or possible benefits for the county. So I understand. They did what they did.
Is there any way that the county's gonna take it in the shorts when it comes to tax valuation? I'm just trying to get my head wrapped around 1.1 million.
What's going to happen, Mr. Chairman and Commissioner McCall, in essence, all of the right-of-ways and agreements that we normally have put in place for you all in your industrial revenue bonds with Pattern or Avangrid or all the other players that have come before, all of those agreements are now transferred and taken up by RETA, by statute. So what's going to happen is this is going to show, I understand the question. It's not going, the SunZia component will not show up as this is my understanding. It's not going to show up as a number of new assets on your books from which you get property taxes from, because it's all been transferred to SunZia or to RETA. So you won't have a situation where it would have a positive or negative effects on the taxpayers of Torrance County. It's kind of a neutral issue from the standpoint of property tax assessment. It's all going to be at RETA. I mean, that's just.
But with it going through RETA, gives them ability to abate taxes, just like the IRB does, the process does, and I'm aware of that.
Or abate taxes, but maybe receive payments in lieu of taxes.
So is this our payment in lieu of taxes?
This is over and above whatever the state of New Mexico gets under their agreement between RETA and SunZia. What I put in here is the county's ability to go back and try to get some of whatever RETA gets. But knowing the state of New Mexico, I wouldn't hold my breath on that one, to be real blunt.
I'd like to ask Jesse Lucero, our county assessor, for his comment real quick.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, Commissioner McCall, this is the first I'm hearing, but this kind of sounds like this transmission line going through 7 counties would be very similar to our state assessed properties. You have your railroads, we have gravel pits, cell towers. I am going to reach out to the state because I'm very curious. This is the first I'm hearing about this. So I'm curious, but it kind of sounds like very much the way our state assessed would be handling it. But if this project is done in lieu of taxes, we would not be, the county will still benefit, but we wouldn't be adding any more tax value.
And I appreciate that. I'm looking for down the road, kind of like, oh, we got you kind of thing is what I'm looking for. Where's the, I got you? If there is one.
Again, as the assessor absolutely is spot on, it's going to go into basically central assessed. And it'll go on the state's books, not on the county. Your benefit will be financial that's here and the construction benefits that you have seen in the past while the construction is going on, which is going to be in that 24 to 26 period. This is one of those things the state did years and years and years ago. And I mean, your option is not doing this and just not taking the money. I mean, they're still going to do the transaction with RETA. And that state statute basically transfer all your normal customary authorities to that governmental agency. And you are not the first county to adopt this. In fact, you're actually the last of the 7.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, in visiting with legal counsel, one of the concerns that is brought up is that there's no exit clause for an agreement. In most of our agreements, we do have one.
A what?
Exit clause in the event that something does come to light, Commissioner McCall, that we could pull out of this and do something different. I don't know if that is something that SunZia would be agreeable to. And I can.
We have not had, Mr. Chairman and County Manager, we have not had that discussion with them at all. My only question would be if we put that in, I am not opposed to that. If we put that in though, you'd probably have to remit back any compensation that you received as part of this agreement. So.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, that's correct.
Urgency. Great. What's the time frame we have on this?
This is the next one is the time frame component. This one, if we want to put in an exit clause, we can and see where it goes with SunZia. I mean, I looked at it from the financial components. That was our responsibility.
And I think it's fair to our new legal counsel to have an opportunity to read this through. If time is not of the essence, maybe we take it up at the next meeting, but let them put some eyes on it.
I agree.
And I appreciate your help, Rob, and I know you're looking at it from the standpoint of compensation and finances, but I want to make sure we're truly vetted it from both sides. And legally, when somebody wants to give you that much money, with nothing or with that they don't have to, makes me perk up just a bit, so.
So item 11A will be deferred to the next meeting. Those are the only three that we had moved, correct? All right, so now going,
Dark Commission 12A, correct?
I'm sorry,
12A?
Yeah.
12A deferred.
yeah, 12A deferred, correct.
That was-
All right, so now back to HA, 11A, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. This is the resolution of support that SunZia has requested. We made one change in this document from, this is very similar to the agreement that was signed by a prior commission. We did take out one paragraph, though, that said that you've been following all of the BLM meetings and minutes and what have you faithfully, because I don't think anybody did that. And we wouldn't want that to be held over your head. And instead, we put in a whereas the county realizes the importance of SunZia transmission lines will have on the economic viability of rural counties, the renewable energy projects come online and return increased property tax revenues and other benefits. There you go. Other than that, this is basically a resolution of support that SunZia can take to BLM meetings that are being held next week. That's why there's a time issue here.
I think we do support, I mean, I know this commissioner supports it. The fact that we're on the receiving end on the generation side of it entices me even further. But so I can speak, I'm in favor of the line. I'm in the SunZia line, so I have no problem with that. I just want to work through the details a little further before we
Do the actual payment.
sign that agreement.
Item 11A, I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2022-34
Second that.
for the construction operation of the SunZia transmission line to the Board of to the Bureau of Land Management as presented. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Commissioner Candelaria?
Yes.
Commissioner Schwebach votes yes. Commissioner McCall?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners.
Thank you.
Item 11 this will be to approve resolution 2022-35 election integrity issues. Trying to forward to Ms. Varela to kind of lay the groundwork on what we have in front of us.
Janice Barella, County Manager. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, you have before you a resolution that I worked on, and I had legal counsel also work on this and review it for me. I visited with commissioners in regards to this as well. I want to remind the commissioners and also the public, this is a draft and it can be changed at any time during this meeting. And once it is finalized, if it is finalized during this meeting, we can have those corrections done on the spot and get the signature for approval today, or if more discussion is needed, it can be deferred to the next meeting as well. So with that in mind, I'd like to read my draft. Resolution to take all reasonable and legal county actions to ensure the accuracy and integrity of the election system for the citizens of Torrance County. Whereas there is no more sacred duty in the democracy of these United States than ensuring the conduct of fair and accurate elections. And whereas in the state of New Mexico, it is the duty of the legislature and the Secretary of State to establish, operate, and oversee fair and accurate elections. And whereas during the 2022 primary election just conducted in New Mexico, a serious question arose concerning whether the voting machines used in the state were properly certified by the Secretary of State for the June 7, 2022 election. And whereas under the existing law of the state of New Mexico election code, the Secretary of State shall certify all voting systems used in New Mexico elections only if the systems are tested by an independent authority and comply with all requirements of the election code and the most recent voluntary voting system guidelines adopted by the United States Election Assistance Commission, NMSA 1978, Section 1-9-14A. And whereas in February 2021, the Election Assistance Commission of the United States, EAC, adopted new standards for voting systems, the Voluntary Voting System Guidelines, VVSG 2.0. Those new standards were not used by the Secretary of State for the 2022 primary election. And whereas citizens first raised the issue that the Secretary of State, SOS, was violating state law, Section 1-9-14, at the Torrance County Commission meeting on May 25th, 2022, and subsequently in individual conversations with the commissioners and during the commission's special meeting to canvass the primary vote on June 13th, 2022. The citizens argued that by not using a voting system compliant with the VVSG 2.0 guidelines, the Secretary of State was violating the law and that the primary canvass should not be certified. And whereas the Torrance County Board of County Commissioners Board investigated the citizens' concerns by one, asking the Torrance County Clerk many pointed questions about the day-to-day work of running an election in Torrance County, two, studying the election code, three, visiting individually with constituents regarding their concerns about election integrity and election system vulnerabilities, four, seeking legal reviews and counsel regarding New Mexico election statutes. Wherefore, the board concluded that one, the Board of County Commissioners is ex officio the county canvassing board in each county, NMSA 1978, Section 1-13-1. Two, the county clerk shall A, prepare the report of the canvass of the election returns by carefully examining the returns of each precinct to ascertain if they contain the properly executed certificates required by the election code and to ascertain whether any discrepancy, omission, or error appears on the face of the election returns. And B, present the report of the canvass to the county canvassing board for the board's consideration and approval. NMSA Section 1-13-4. Three, the county canvassing board shall meet to approve the report of the canvass of the returns and declare the results no sooner than 6 days and no later than 10 days from the date of the election. NMSA 1978, Section 1-13-13. Four, the board struggled with their statutory responsibility to certify the canvass and with the commissioner's oaths of office to faithfully support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution and laws of the state of New Mexico as they reviewed the election process and system in its entirety. Five, the SOS should have decertified the voting machines that were used during the 2022 primary election when VVSG 2.0 was adopted under the clear language of NMSA Section 1-9-14, or asked a court to determine that she could ignore the statutory requirement. Six, systems utilized to print ballots at polling locations did not comply with NMSA 1978, Section 1-1-12A. Paper ballots shall A, be numbered consecutively. Seven, the board recessed their June 13, 2022 special meeting until June 17, 2022, so it could further investigate the 2022 primary election, as well as the possible ramifications of voting to not certify the canvass based on the above stated violations of state statutes. Whereas the New Mexico Supreme Court ruled on June 15th, 2022, in a similar case arising out of Otero County, that the Board of County Commissioners canvassing an election only had the authority to comply with the requirements of the canvassing statute, NMSA 1978 1-13-13A. Whereas the board performed a canvass of the June 2022 election primary on June 13th, 2022 and June 17th, 2022, after carefully examining the returns of each precinct to ascertain if they contained properly executed certificates, and concluded there were no discrepancies, omissions, or errors on the face of the election returns as required in the statutory canvass process of section 1-13-1, NMSA 1978. And whereas, as was implied by the Supreme Court holding, the canvass is not the proper place to challenge the certification of voting machines under New Mexico law. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Board of County Commissioners hereby authorizes and directs the county manager and county attorney to take all actions necessary and proper to ensure the integrity of elections in Torrance County with the cooperation and collaboration of the county clerk as follows. 1, explore all legal and cooperative remedies available to the board to ensure the integrity of the 2022 election and resolve the legal question of the proper certification of voting machines in New Mexico. No lawsuit shall be filed without prior board approval. And 2, explore all options, including litigation if necessary, for Torrance County to secure the election returns, both electronic counters and paper ballots, to verify and audit the outcome of the 2022 primary election using the hand tally method to be conducted once the ballots are available for review by the public, as the board desires to include the public in the audit process and prior to the general election to help ensure public confidence in the voting systems. And 3, work with other counties, state legislators, and the Secretary of State to propose amendments to the election code and election rules to facilitate greater trust in the election process and improve the election system for future elections. And 4, encourage through greater public outreach in Torrance County, the citizens of Torrance County to get as involved as possible in the election process to better ensure the integrity of the election system through voter opportunities such as becoming election workers, election watchers, or simply observing to ensure the proper conduct of the election. Done this 22nd day of June, 2022. Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I know that there were specific items that were questioned during the course of the concerns that the citizens brought forth, and even in your just own things that you brought forth as part of the process as well when you were canvassing. I specifically didn't list them individually in here because I didn't, in my perspective, I didn't want to tie the commission just to those items. Instead, what I'd like is to anybody that we present this to, whether it's the Secretary of State or if it is any legislators as we visit with them, that we're able to put together that list and include it with it. This is providing proper documentation that shows that this county is taking this issue seriously, this commission is taking it seriously, and we are going to be visiting with the proper authorities to get some answers, and also to basically stating we're going to do whatever we need to do up and include, possibly including legal action if necessary. But as stated, this is a draft, and I'm stand for questions, and we have the draft pulled up in case the commission cares to change any of the language, delete something, add something. And we do have legal counsel available to also help vet this out if you have any questions.
So I'll ask some of these questions. This is for attorney. I understand many of these resolutions, I mean, they give a very clear direction, the groundwork for an entity, the county in this case, to proceed with legal action if necessary, if we're not getting answers. That's what makes this resolution so necessary. So concerning legal, I mean, there are specific questions I want that were brought to the attention from many of our constituents. One, what is proprietary on the tabulators and why? That's a question I would like answered. And I'm asking you this because I don't know if it's prudent to put it within a resolution or to design the resolution to adhere to a working document we use down the road. And that's why I'm asking that question of what would serve it better, both for future possible legal action and a delivery to our representatives who do have a say so in statute. That's my line of thinking. If I'm on the right track, let me know. If not, let me know. Okay.
Mr. Chair, commissioners and members of the public, I guess there's really two approaches that we could take. One would be to list as many things as we can today. And the other would be to just leave this broad, like we've drafted it, essentially saying we're going to go on this journey together with the citizens of Torrance County and do these things for them, irregardless of where it takes us. I mean, that question you just asked, I think, is that one piece of the crux of the problem is we're using a machine that a layman like myself, particularly me, doesn't understand. So that is a big piece of the puzzle. And I think what is important is that you continue. For example, we bring back a report in a short amount of time on the things that are time sensitive. What we have is we're in this 45-day window after the election when the vote can be challenged. There can be an election case on any particular race for that period of time by a candidate in that race. They can challenge the results. So once that's completed, though, that's when the time comes that the ballots are no longer needed for any legal purpose in that election. The election is over then when no one challenges it. What we're saying is we want to ensure that both the counters and the paper ballots are maintained as a public record while we do an audit.
And that is in this resolution, correct?
Yes. It was item 2, I believe, of the therefore clauses.
Go ahead.
And therefore, what we will do is work with the clerk and the Secretary of State. There are audit provisions in the Secretary of State administrative rules, for example. We can see if they apply. We can see if that is the proper process, because there is no other process that's set out in state law for such an audit. It's allowed, but the process isn't set up, because traditionally elections have been challenged through the candidates that are involved in the elections if they believe that their votes weren't counted right, because the results of the election were so close that a few votes might make the difference. I don't know if you guys have ever been subject to it, but literally the New Mexico state law allows for a draw the cards to determine the winner of a particular race if it's tied. So those are the times when challenges normally happen. What we're talking about is there's a question that has been brought about the fairness and accuracy of the systems being used to conduct the election. I can't tell you here. I've run elections. I've been a lawyer for folks running elections. And in my experience, those systems have been accurate, but I can't tell you that. That's what we're going to find out.
And I guess that's what I'm trying to determine at this moment is how is that best suited? Because I know there's going to be more questions come up the more we look at it. How is that best suited? To continually amend this resolution or to incorporate something within this to where this is what we're doing, these are the questions, and this is why. And when we get some answers and we get more questions, we can bounce it right back. How is the best way to handle that? In the mind.
My opinion is what you are doing is you are taking a resolution isn't law. It is the guidance that the county commission gives to its employees and every person who works for them within the county, including people on contract like myself. You are giving guidance with that resolution. At any time, we can bring it, you can ask for a report, we can bring the report back, the manager and us can bring back the report, and you can direct us to go any direction you want. You don't have to do it by resolution. The resolution is simply saying, go forth. It's like as if you told us to go out and explore a new country. And from that point forward, we would bring reports back to you saying what we had found and you'd give us additional guidance. It doesn't need to be in resolution.
Okay, I think that answers my question.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner McCall also had brought up a concern during the time that we had discussed. So with your permission, I'd like to talk about the disposition schedule, which means that the secretaries or in state statute, the ballots cannot be destroyed any sooner than 45 days after either the state canvassing has been done or after if there's a challenge to the election by a candidate and they have a recount, then after that's settled, it triggers an additional 45 days that has a disposition of records cannot occur within that time. I know that state statute also said that it could not be released as part of an IPA request during that time. That's why I'm asking for this to state specifically in there that we're going to do it during the time that it is released to the public. And because I want the constituents to have just as much an opportunity to watch this entire process when we put it through the election on our own, independent, doing our own audit. And so I'm asking, I guess, the county clerk, if she's planning on destroying these records, the ballots, before we can get this accomplished. Are you willing to work with us to make sure they're not destroyed and we can put this through this election, mock election, by hand tallying it?
Yvonne Otero, Torrance County Clerk. No, I don't destroy the paper ballots. I wait for the full 22 months before I decide to go with the destruction process. I keep them, even though it says that we can destroy them. I keep them for the full 22 months.
And that's for all the elections that you run?
I haven't had, they're for everything that I have, the special election, the local election, and this election. I have them all in storage in the warehouse.
And so am I correct in saying that once these ballots are released after the 45 days, at that point, there is nothing preventing us as a county and our citizens to bring these machines back out and to essentially retest them, hand count them, look at them.
No,
Any way we
not
see
that I'm aware of right now. I'm looking into all of that right now. Just
I mean, there's nothing to say we can't, because before the next election, these machines are going to be recertified on the 10 days prior to election. So between now and then, we can observe these machines, we can test them, we can look at them.
Yes.
So that is part of my intent.
Mr. Chair, Madam Clerk, Randy Audio, and just to make it clear, because we are new, myself and Mike Garcia are from the law firm New Mexico Local Government Law, and we represent local towns, cities, municipalities of all sorts, other governmental agencies and counties throughout the state. And we've both been doing this for most of our careers. So we just wanted to introduce ourselves. On a specific question, so you have the ballots, you have the tapes that are what was just canvassed, the printouts from the machines that have the signatures of those judges at that precinct, at the consolidated precinct,
Yes.
correct? Then can we keep the counters, the electronic counters in the machines for that period of time as well? I'm obviously concerned because you and the Secretary of State have to continue the election process to prepare for the general election. So are the cards themselves going to be able to be maintained?
We recycle the cards, so once we get everything clear, the cards are going to get cleared out when I'm certifying the machines for the next election.
Is there
I have all that information. It's on everything that we load from the cards is on our democracy suite, which is my Dominion server that's located in my office.
If it would be possible, if the commission finds the funds to keep these cards and buy new cards, is that possible? for the next election?
Yeah, it's possible, just to let you know, they're about $60 a card.
How many are there?
Let's see, I have 22 machines and I have 2 cards go into every machine, so I can't do that off the top of my head.
Gotcha. Okay. Just wanted to get an idea. Thank you.
Appreciate that. That's helpful. And I do want those cards to be maintained and all the paper ballots till we're satisfied. We as the commission and we as the public.
Not a problem, can do.
With regard to voter rolls, and after my discussion with what I consider an expert, I think that's really the crux of where our elections are lacking is voter rolls. They need to be updated, purged. I'll throw this number out there. I got a number that there's 60,000 people on New Mexico state voter rolls that do not reside in the state of New Mexico. And that needs to be taken seriously. And so do we put anything in this resolution speaking about purging, updating, whatever the word is you want to use for voter rolls?
Commissioner McCall, it is again your choice. It certainly can be. We will look under this resolution at anything you wish us to explore and look at. I believe what would be very beneficial is that this be a organic process, starting with this resolution, and that as we obtain more information, more questions are bound to arise. And so I think you just gave us that question. We've got it down now. And so I think as part of the process, how to we perhaps could have a better system for maintenance of voter rolls. Right now, the process is that the people stay on the voter rolls until the county clerk would move to take folks off of the registry of registered voters because they're old, and we can go through what the current statutes require and how that's done, and it could be done in a more efficient way, I'm sure.
And I apologize, I don't have any more details about this, but something I think we need to explore is that the Secretary of State is not complying in a way that she should be in purging these roles. And so I know there's possible litigation that's going to come before her because of X, Y, I don't know what it is, but I think legal, we need to ask and look into that as to what are her duties and is she upholding them. I think I've got one issue that she's not. So just to further that.
So on this, that was one question. Look how much time we just spent on one question with the machines. I personally have more concerns over what is it, convenient voting centers? What is it called?
The voting convenience centers.
I personally think there's more room for error, for fraud, for manipulation within that system. And I have a lot of pointed questions for that. And one thing I would like to incorporate in here is I do believe is the Secretary of State. One of that office's duty is to help secure voter confidence, voter integrity. So I think we need direct answers from the office on saying, this is why we are answering your questions. Because this is the big issue is voter confidence. And whether other state entities want to acknowledge it or not, it is a very real thing. You walk outside of this room and you go to what everybody considers the everyday Joe, somebody that's not speaking, you ask them that question, are you confident with our election that your vote counts? 9 times out of 10, it's going to be no. 8 times out of 10, it's a very real thing. And so I think it is necessary that the Secretary of State acknowledges and attempts to alleviate some of that. That I would like incorporated into this.
I understand completely. That is the intent of this is that we grab the partners that we have around the state, your piece of the election process, our clerks from every county and the commissions. And then as stated in the resolution, the legislators and the Secretary of State, obviously. And there was there's one thing this will be what we will say we are going to do, is that we will look for evidence. We will find the facts, because law only gets changed when you find the facts and then you apply the law to those facts. In all of this, each of us in this room have an opinion. Most of them are uninformed. The clerk perhaps has the best opinion on how this election went because she has the most knowledge. But after you have those opinions, then you start digging into the facts and find out what they are and then what we can do about them. It may be that law needs to be followed, or it may be that law needs to be changed. And we're all over that. That's what I would like to see, because democracy is very important to me, and I want to make sure that it continues well. On a personal note, when I was acting city clerk in Albuquerque in 2007, we had an election for city councilors, and there were 654 precincts. We had to obtain judges and 3 election workers for each one of those precincts and then train them. And it was amazingly difficult, just logistically, having enough people that knew what they were doing for all of those precincts. So the benefit of the consolidated precincts is we get better trained people working them. So there are benefits that definitely came along with it, but it is rather unnerving when you sit there and a voter comes in. Of course, it happened to me this year, and I give them my information and a machine prints out the ballot. It just feels a little different than if you walk into your precinct and there's a stack of ballots from that precinct and they hand you one. Now, they've done everything I believe that they thought they could to make the system secure. Can they do more? Probably. So that's another thing we can look at.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, we do have our legal counsel working on the addition of what you requested, Mr. Chairman. And once that's completed, we'll get that for you. You can know what it says for approval.
Commissioner, do you have any more, excuse me, input on this at the present moment?
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to point out one before we go into other issues. We did find one, the clerk actually found it, a typo in the second to last whereas clause in regarding to when the board canvassed it. It's on line 19 of as I said, the second to last whereas, and it said the canvass was conducted on January 13th instead of June. So we're going to fix that as well, but that would need to be part of your motion to amend this once we get this other change done. Thank you.
If this commission has any discussion, we can briefly table this and come back. Unless he's already got it typed up.
Well, they're working on that. What he said right there, that either change the law or uphold the law. I can't agree more with that. And that's what I stated on Friday is I'm hung up with an issue that is law. So
I would agree with that. There's many issues that came to the table. And that's the intent of this, is to head them off prior to any future elections, to get those questions answered. And if they aren't answered adequately, how do you get them answered adequately? I mean, there's a whole boatload full of them. And it's also to work with other counties. many counties are looking at this, looking at similar things. They have many of the similar concerns of what we've seen here. And to work with them along with our elected legislatures to, just as he said, either abide by the law and accept that this is fair and true, or to change the law to abide by the law to where it is fair and true.
Because this body doesn't have that ability.
This body does not have that ability.
So
Mr. Chair, members of the board, I have some language that may address what you wanted, Mr. Chair, into the resolution. It'd be the very last line right before now therefore be it resolved. It would be the last whereas.
Okay.
It reads, whereas the Secretary of State has a duty to ensure voting integrity and voter confidence in the state of New Mexico.
Oh, no, I like that. That's pretty black and white.
I'm going to try to send it to Mr. Torres if I can get my Wi-Fi to work.
No, Wi-Fi don't work.
You can always trot it over there written out too, if you'd like.
I could do that.
Just take it over.
Yes, it pulled up. Yeah, it'd be easy to type in.
And I'll express some conversations that Ms. Burrell and I had yesterday, that we want this to be to the point, our feelings, but at the same time, don't alienate ourselves to the point where we don't have a voice at the table. And so, how to find that, where to find that even ground, be firm,
Just typed it in.
precise,
Put it right.
but know that we want a voice at the table.
Mr. Chair, on that comment, Commissioner McCall, there's nothing harder, and that's the hardest thing that election workers always have to deal with. Many times they're on the ballot, but yet in doing their duty on elections, they have to be nonpartisan, have to do it for the citizens. And that just is kind of the core mantra, the core belief that all election workers have to have. And if they're not doing that, then we got a problem.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, also, whenever I read the resolution into record, I did make that correction. I didn't read it as January. I read it as June. So since we did not publish this resolution ahead of time, that would not necessarily need to be, in my opinion, included as part of your amendment.
I would agree.
Is there anything y'all would like to add?
It sounds like maybe the update's been done.
No. Why don't you just bring it, is that the only update?
Was the adjustment of the date done already? On
Yes.
on that official document?
So there's the, Mr. Chair, Commission, there's the last whereas. And then right here is where the date was changed as well.
I believe this will serve the purpose for now.
Can't argue.
I'm not confident that it's not going to have to be strengthened down the road. And I guess that's where I lean on legal. What we find, the answers we get, and how to strengthen this essentially to lay the groundwork for potential litigation. So that's kind of how it works.
I agree.
Entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 22-35 as amended here on this date, 22nd.
Further discussion? Commissioner Candelaria?
Yes.
Commissioner Schweiberg votes yes. Commissioner McCall?
Yes.
Motion carries. Let's see. Approve, discuss resolution 22-36 to accept junior appropriations of $50,000 to plan, design, construct, renovate, and equip an investigation and evidence building, authorizing County Manager Janice Wybarella to act as signatory.
I'll second that for sake of discussion.
Okay.
Cheryl Allen, Torrance County Grants Manager. We have received an agreement for $50,000 to plan, design, construct, renovate, and equip the investigation evidence building. We've already been doing some of the work on this building, and we are looking at using that money to the $50,000 to go ahead and do a HVAC overall to improve the cooling within the facility and installing gates within the fence that that is being constructed right now, but that the current fencing project does not include the gates. And we're looking at trying to, we've already obtained some quotes so we can move ahead on once we receive all the quotations on this project. We do need to submit these, a signed agreement to get it fully executed.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, we will need to have an amendment on this resolution. On the second whereas, it has the written out amount, but the numerical amount is incorrect. So 50,000 and 0 cents, and we're missing a 0 on the 50,000, the numerical amount. So we will correct that.
The new junior appropriation that we've gotten from the legislator. So this had nothing to do with the tie to the 100,000 from the emergency
It's
management.
a brand new one. And it's, to be honest, we don't know who it's coming from.
What do you mean you don't know who it's coming from?
Which
Legislator.
Which legislature? Okay.
Okay, so the agreement that we do have in hand, and it was based off of an email that had gone between let me see, DFA and Torrance County regarding, they had requested information about what work we were looking at doing on the investigations and evidence building.
Great. And when, in that appropriations, was it just for that one building?
Yes.
It was set aside for evidence, okay.
So a second for approval. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chairman, the motion was for discussion. Did you end up making a motion
No, you're right. I'll make a motion for approval
as amended?
as amended.
Second, you got it.
Mr. Candelaria, second. Is there any further discussion? Commissioner Candelaria?
Yes.
Commissioner Schweiberg votes yes. Commissioner McCall?
Yes.
Motion carries. Now open the floor for discussion for restructuring of the fair board and approval of paid contractor for administrative assistant services to the fair board, which was deferred from June 8th.
He just opened it for.
Are we open?
Just open for discussion.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, this is the same resolution brought back before you today with the addition or the amendment of adding the term limit for or how long the members would be serving for. So on line number 22 on the first page, it now reads, the fair board shall be comprised of 5 voting members, hereafter referred to as member, whose term shall be 3 years. And that is consistent with the term that the members now serve. All other items on here remain the same.
So I have 2 packets before me. Are they the exact same? Is there 2 floating around?
You have 2.
There's 2 resolutions that you had placed on your desk.
Resolution?
One
Yeah.
was the fair board and the other one should have been the restructure, the restructuring, the other one should have been with the elections.
No, I've got 2 fair boards. So they're the same, one and the same.
So they're gonna be the same. My apologies that you ended up getting the wrong one. Did you get one of the elections?
I did not get one.
Okay, that was the error. My apologies.
Madam Manager, do you have a scope of work for this contract?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner McCall, I currently was emailed a scope of work, but I haven't had opportunity to review it because of all the work that I put into the election integrity. So my apologies that I was not prepared to answer that question for you today as far as providing that scope of work for you. But I guarantee that we will go through it extensively and make sure that the required work is included in it. And if you would have to approve any agreement that would come as a result of this anyway, and the scope of work would be included in that at that time.
So just because we approve this change, we can then, it'll come before us again for the scope of work for the contractor.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner McCall, that is correct. And we would not have any agreement in place outside of the approval of the commission. That includes the amount that we would pay the individual based on their qualifications and the scope of work. And that also includes the scope of work itself.
So the amount could then be changed as well. We're not stuck with the 550 per month.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner McCall, that is correct. The way that is stated in this resolution is there would be no greater than 550. So that does allow the commission to go at a lower rate if you so desire.
Understood. I see exceed 550. Appreciate that clarity.
Make a motion to approve resolution 2022-37. Any further discussion? Commissioner Candelaria? Yes. Commissioner Schwebach votes yes. Commissioner McCall?
Yes.
Motion carries. We covered 12A, we are down to 12B. Turn the floor over to the manager to discuss the cost of living increase of 75 cents for 2 dispatch employees.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, the last commission meeting, I brought it up on the agenda. I placed it on the agenda for consideration of 2 employees that worked at dispatch that were placed into a salary schedule as part of the budget process. In that, I made an error and I didn't go through and completely vet out what each individual staff member, what their rate of pay was and how that would affect them as far as making sure that at least they had the cost of living increase of 75 cents. We had 2 employees that did not meet that 75-cent cost of living increase that the commission had granted to all the employees. And so I wanted to make that right. The difference between the motion that's before you today versus 2 separate line items of the last commission meeting was that I requested that last commission meeting that one of those employees have a change in her title, which would also include a greater increase in her salary. And after discussion with commissioners, I brought it back to just a simple 75 cents increase for each one of those employees to ensure that they get the cost of living increase. So I will work diligently in my next budget next year, and I'm hoping that the employee that we have here sees that she has value and that we do appreciate the work that she's doing. Right now, we have before you for consideration for those two employees to receive the 75% cost increase. Again, my apologies. This was my oversight and my error.
Especially when you have over 100 employees, to make sure it's all fair and even. And we appreciate you bringing this back before the commission. And I do think this is fair. They deserve the cost of living. So with that, you have a motion, Mr. Chairman?
I do not.
I'll make a motion to approve the cost of living increase of 70% for 2 dispatcher employees.
So moving to second. Is there any further discussion?
I have one question. Selena Carroll, dispatch supervisor. Why was that taken off of the table? Amanda being in the TAC pay bracket?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, Ms. Carroll, would you identify yourself first?
Yes, Selena Carroll, dispatch supervisor.
And I wanted the people to know that there's a reason that she's up here and it's in her official capacity. The reason it was removed from consideration is that the proper procedure was not followed through the budget cycle. And so with the questions that I had in vetting this out with the individual commissioners, it was stated that their preference right now, and this was going off of the dialogue that also occurred in the last commission meeting, was that they preferred to keep the structure the way it was and then to work through that on the next budget cycle. One of the things that was taken into consideration is how has become a way that the county supervisors have been trying to get raises for their employees has been the restructure that's done, but that's been done during the budget cycle and not necessarily after the fact. I don't know that we necessarily had all the proper documentation in place to have this approved right now. I'm not saying that we can't revisit this, especially since the dispatch center has its own dedicated funds that come in and can't be used for anything else other than dispatch. So in order for this to get approved and make sure that we have it completely vetted out and put before the commission in time for this raise to take effect for the new budget cycle, I wanted to make sure that I was able to get this passed today. This was important to me to make this right. And so we can always come back and have additional conversations in regard to this. And Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I do plan on doing that. But this was my best course of action right now to get it remedied.
Understood. Was that all your questions? Okay. It was moved and seconded for approval. Commissioner Kennedy, Commissioner Schwebach votes yes. Commissioner McCall?
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 12C. Approval of FY 2022 capital asset certification. There is not a motion on the table.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, this is a requirement by our audit that we are to have this done annually. The asset list is currently not ready for presentation before the commission. We had this here in the event that it would be ready in time. What I'm going to request is once we have it prepared, I'll visit with Mr. Chairman and see if we could get a signature on it. We'll also are visiting with our auditor to make sure it's okay that we have this certified at the next meeting, first meeting in July.
So you do not need a motion.
Right now, please defer it.
I'm glad you weren't asking for one. I was
No,
confused for a second.
I know, and I'm sorry for the rambling.
Okay, 12C will be deferred. 12D. Application for GOV. Proposed for credit card processing.
Good morning, Commissioners. Tracy Cedillo, Torrance County Treasurer. I am before you today asking for your approval on the application for payment processing through GovPros. As we're transitioning to our new Tyler software, In order for the software to have its full automation that it is capable of, we have to be on a bridge pay vendor for credit card payments. GovPros is a new bridge pay vendor. I'm kind of excited that I found them because they're in Edgewood versus out of state, which is where our current credit card processor is. So I'm here before you asking for approval for this application so we can move forward with this. We'll eventually be terminating our contract with our current credit card vendor, but I'm not in such a big hurry to do that until we get everything up and running on the Tyler software.
So a couple questions first.
Sure.
Our current policy, if somebody uses a credit card, we charge the individual for the usage fee.
So the credit card company currently charges that fee direct. So the user pays to the credit card. There's two different charges for the transaction. One would be the actual transaction cost, one would be the convenience fee. With GovPros, that same process will exist. The only thing that's different is that our rate that GovPros is offering us is 2.39% convenience fee. Right now, we're paying 2.5%. So they are cheaper for the convenience fee on the percentage. The minimum stays the same, the Visa debit stays the same, and I believe the e-check cost stays the same.
So it will be lower cost to constituents.
Yes. Which is always exciting. It's a little hard for us to get a good credit card convenience rate just because we don't have a big volume of transactions like say Bernalillo County or one of the bigger counties. So it's kind of nice that they're offering us a lower rate. And the other thing that they did say is we would be going through a point of sale machine upgrade, that they would not charge us for those machines where we had to buy them from the prior vendor.
So as I see this as, you brought this before us, is this an option for our other divisions within the county?
Yeah, so as we migrate to GovPros, we will migrate all of the point of sale machines. Right now, I have 3 in my office. The clerk has 2, planning and zoning has 1, animal shelter has 1, and sheriff's department has a point of sale machine. Everyone else in the building, if something comes up, they usually send them to our office and we process them. But as you know, the need arises in other departments, I've been very open to that. We also, with the animal shelter, we're able to get with our current vendor an online portal for people to make donations to the animal shelter. And so we'll transition that with GovPros as well.
So with this motion, we'll just approve your office to use the GovPros and then.
It's the application for the whole county.
It is. Okay, great. Sounds like you found a great platform and we appreciate you working on
I'm
that.
excited because they're going to be here when we go live with Tyler Eagles. So they'll be on site because they're closer. We'll have a lot better customer service.
Absolutely. Sounds like it.
I'll make a motion for approval.
Second that.
Is there any further discussion? Commissioner Candelaria?
Yes.
Commissioner Schweibach votes yes. Commissioner McCall?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
12E. Making an amendment to the agreement dated August 1st, 2019 between Pictometry International Corp. of Torrance County in the amount of $106,697.68. Assessor here.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, while our assessor Lucero comes forward, I just wanted to state that I guess give my kudos to Assessor Lucero in how he has managed his reappraisal fund. And he has brought it back into a place where it's very healthy and would be able to accommodate this without using any general funds. So this would be utilizing reappraisal funds for this flyover and paying for this cost. So I'll lead into that and allow Assessor Lucero to do his presentation.
Thank you, Madam Manager. Mr. Chair, members of the board, Jesse Lucero, Torrance County Assessor. As you recall, I came back before you all in 2019 and we had an extensive discussion regarding pictometry, Eagle View. We all ironed out our concerns. I'm very pleased to announce we have paid off our first flyover. What I want to point out is during the original contract, that was signed in 2019 was for 2 flyovers. Obviously, the county cannot afford to fly the entire county. I believe in that discussion, Mr. Chair, we had talked about a potential flyover over the same area the second time. And so we decided to do, based on this discussion we had back in 2019, was to fly the mountain communities on the second flyover. So that's where we're at right now. We are finding enormous success in the utilization of this software. And so the idea will be for the mountain communities, we'll start at the county line off of 337. Excuse me, we'll fly south all the way into our Deer Canyon subdivision. And that was one very big area of concern for me that was not captured on the first flyover. And I believe the flyover will move east about 5 miles. So we're going to capture a good amount of the county. And I'm very happy to report that with our former finance managers assistance, I'm very happy to report that the reappraisal fund is solid. And this falls within the lines of what we can use that funding for. And I still want to just continue to promote to this commission a partnership with the commission for another flyover. 3 years is certainly good. We don't have the growth that we see in major counties. However, I do believe our county is still growing, and being able to fly the whole county in one single flyover once every 3 years would be more beneficial, I believe, than flying one portion 3 years, one portion 3 years. I stand for any questions.
Good job for managing your reappraisal fund to where you can pay for this out of your portion. Kind of put you on the spot just a bit. Do you have a number of evaluation increase to the state based upon that first flyover? Or to the county,
That was
excuse me?
one of the questions that Mr. Chair, Commissioner McCall, if we remember back to 2019, when I came before the board, as I recall, Chairman Schwabach specifically asked me that question. Before we come before the commission again to show the return on investment. And in that request, he asked to remove outliers like fuel costs or vehicle maintenance. I don't have those numbers before you today. The issue here is we tie in the software, we're tying it into the everyday appraisal. So to really be able to come up here and say, in the first flyover, it cost us 100,000. Our return on investment to that 100,000 is now 300,000. What I can say is that the use of pictometry has certainly given us the opportunity to reduce mistakes and errors in the valuations of the properties that we're assessing. And the reason I can say this is this year, we only had 64 protests. And in the last 7 years that I've been here, we've had a minimum of 300. So what I'm attributing this to is the fact that our appraisers are doing a better job of appraising properties, of ensuring current and correct values. And a lot of that has to do with this software, because there's many areas of our county where we can't get to. I mean, we have 32,000 parcels plus. Simple fact is we have 4 appraisers. They can't get around the entire county. A good portion of our county is just agriculture, but nonetheless, we still can't get to all these properties. So they're tackling about 15 properties a day. So to bring you numbers, commissioners, I don't have a return on investment value that I know this is something you all like to see, but I can tell you the overall benefit is much more widespread. Sorry, I didn't have a number.
No, that's fine. And I didn't know if you did or not. And you touched on it a little bit, but increase the cost of fuel. I mean, just the fact that you can take a snapshot from I don't know, 25, 30,000 feet as opposed to driving to every one of these parcels.
So, Mr. Chair, Commissioner McCall, I just kind of want to reiterate, this flyover is a standstill photo. I believe in my 2019 presentation, or perhaps is in 2020. I kind of teased Commissioner McCall that when that particular flyover went down, we were able to see his backyard and only half of it was mowed. So hopefully in the next go around in 3 more years, when we fly over, we'll see, I get to see his maze as well from the aerial view. Too bad it ain't in a current maze, so we can share that information, but it's still pretty neat. Huge believer in this software, still want to partner with this commission. I still think it's beneficial to other entities. Certainly would love to engage in that dialogue at a later date.
To answer your question about my yard, I now have a college boy, my own. That's my grass.
I'm seeing it as being a successful application to what you do. I also see a safety issue for your personnel to have to go out there and make contact with some of those people who are not very happy to see an appraiser going into their property. So I can see where it's beneficial as a safety issue also.
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Candelaria, I can say, without going into a lot of detail, I have had many concerns from my female staff when they're going out into the fields. As many of you know, we are very rural, and there have been a couple of questionable situations, which I have made changes in our office where now each one of our employees has the cell phones, and that's great. But we want to know when they leave and when they're coming back. And that was based on a couple of incidents that my appraisers had. So Commissioner Candelaria, thank you for acknowledging the safety concerns. Overall, I think this is a great software. At this moment, the assessor is not asking the commission for any assistance in funding, but I would ask you all to keep that on your radar because I will be coming again in the future to ask for help.
It has been a long ongoing discussion between you and I on many things. Sit here and tell you, good job on getting that fund in shape to where you can't afford this. And yeah, we will be discussing it. I think I'm getting more and more convinced that this is accurate, the right technology to go, in which case I'll get with the manager and we'll look at it in the near future.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, I appreciate that.
Now we're gonna wait a minute. Make a motion for approval.
Second.
Any further discussion? Motion is second for approval for item 12E. Commissioner Candelaria? Yes. Commissioner Schweibach votes yes. Commissioner McCall?
Yes.
Motion carries. Discuss a possible motion for contract for Frank Rios. Forgive me if I, Prevention Works Consulting LLC for evaluation services.
Tracy Master, Torrance County DWI Credit Prevention Program Coordinator. Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners, County Manager, staff, members of the public. Commissioners, you have before you a professional services contract between Torrance County and Prevention Works Consulting LLC and Mr. Frank Magarillos. Mr. Magarillos has been our evaluator for FY22 and would like to continue with him for FY23. He has gone above and beyond what we have requested from him in FY22, and I am requesting that you approve this contract for next year.
Are there any changes to the contract?
Yes, sir, there are. The version that you have, and I know the pages are not numbered, but let's see. On the third page, item number 5, the total amount would be $1,583. The total month, the full amount would be $18,996 for the fiscal year. And then in addition to that, scope of work has an addition, and it is on the bottom of page, or the second page. Item number 4, social health marketing campaign. And Mr. Morelos has already been doing that, but he's done that at no charge to Torrance County for the current fiscal year.
Has this contract been reviewed by legal?
It was, I apologize, it was submitted to legal about 3 weeks ago.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, given our legal counsel's circumstances, he has not had opportunity to review it, and our current legal counsel is not reviewed it either. Neither this one nor the one that's coming up next.
It's based on, this is essentially a renewal of another contract that he has reviewed with some minor changes is what I'm seeing.
And Mr. Chairman, that's correct.
So personally, I'm okay with the approval of this contract.
And the changes are more has to do with compensation rather than
Actually,
scope of work or.
Correct. Last year, we did not begin contracting with Mr. Morelos until I believe it was November or December. So this, of course, will be for the full fiscal year, and those additional items in the scope of work. We've been getting the services all along. We're just going to be paying for the next year.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, this is completely covered by the grant as well.
I'll make a motion for approval.
Second.
By Mr. Candelaria. Further discussion? Commissioner Candelaria? Commissioner Schwabach votes yes. Commissioner McCall? Yes. Motion carries. Item 12G.
Madam County Manager, staff members of the public, Tracy Master, Torrance County DWI Prevention Program Coordinator. The Commissioners, you have before you a professional services agreement between Torrance County and Mr. Gilbert A. Ortiz for the services of a teen court coordinator and prevention specialist. This is a renewal of a current contract. The change in there is a change in compensation. Mr. Ortiz is paid out through the contract in the amount of $22 per hour. We have really worked him quite a bit this current year, and Mr. Ortiz provides many hours for which he is unable to bill. For example, this is the final month of the fiscal year. I believe the billing amount that he submitted was approximately $3,600 for this month. However, there were only about, and please don't hold me to this dollar amount, I believe it was about $1,400 was available in the contract. So he donated about $2,000 at this time this month for the Torrance County Teen Court Program and for prevention services that he's.
Similarly, this has not been reviewed, but it's renewal of an existing contract. Can it all through the same grant or a different grant?
No,
Previous one.
this is through the LDWI. It's the same grant, just the new various.
So you started talking about $22 an hour. Is that an increase from the prior one?
No, sir. No, sir. The $22 is the same. The full dollar amount is increased by roughly $3,000.
I'm seeing here that it shall not exceed 46,200, and you're saying that he exceeded that, would have this past month.
So if it had been this year, I think he probably would have been okay this month. But no, for the current year, and I apologize, Mr. Commissioner, I don't have the contract for the current fiscal year, but that amount was roughly 43,200, 43,500. And Mr. Ortiz often provides additional services for which he doesn't bill.
So the amount went up, exceeded to 46,200 is what I'm seeing in this new contract.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner, that's correct.
And our grant fully funds that to 46,200.
That is correct as well. Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion to approve contract for Gilbert Coordinator Prevention Special Services. Any further discussion? Commissioner Candelaria? Yes. Commissioner Schweizer? Commissioner McCall?
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 12J. Ratify submission of RPHC grant, rural primary healthcare FY 2023 agreement between Torrance County and Department of Health,
I expect you to read all those out.
MOA number 000000. Ending in 24289. Total budget shall not exceed for deliverables $101,124.
You missed 3.
Missed 8 of them.
After the fact, I told them they didn't have to enter all the zeros. Cheryl Allen, Torrance County Grants Manager. And so this is for the Rural Primary Health Care Agreement or Act grant. And it's the same monies. Basically, we've got a 4-year contract with them. This will be the 3rd year on this grant, but they do give us a new agreement each year. It's not increasing the funds. We are asking for ratification of this because I had received the agreement on June 9th. On June 10th, I was instructed from the Department of Health, which is our funding agency, to get the signed agreement back to them as soon as possible, which would not allow us to come to you first for acceptance of this. So we are asking for ratification. The attorney has reviewed this, and both he and our county manager, Janice Barilla, have signed the agreement, and we have submitted it on June 13th to the Department of Health.
And Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, it came before you previously as a ratification of the application. So this is something we've been notifying you of or informing you of through the process too, letting you know that we were going to go ahead and have to sign this ahead of time and would be coming back to you for the ratification of the actual agreement. So just in previous meetings, we had disclosed this because of the timeline that the Department of Health gave us.
Gotcha. Make a motion for approval.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? Commissioner Candelaria? Yes. Commissioner Schweizer votes yes. Commissioner McCall?
Yes.
Motion carries. Item 12K. Select a priority ICIP project to share for inclusion on other entities' ICIPs.
Cheryl Allen, Torrance County Grants Manager. So within the training that they provide for the infrastructure capital improvement plan process each year, they have in the past, and they are encouraging this year, that we work with other entities within Torrance County to incorporate some of each other's requests on each other's ICIP. That does increase basically points that are assigned as value to different projects within the county. And we have submitted an email to each of the mayors, the land grant presidents, asking for them to submit to us their worksheet for their one of their high rated project, if not their highest rated project. And then we would include that in our ICIP, not necessarily in the same rating as they have it, but we would include it at least in the first year. And in exchange, we're asking them to include our highest rated project on their ICIP. In order to complete everyone's deadlines, we cannot wait until the commission goes through the entire process and selects the number one priority. For example, the special districts, which includes the land grants, they must submit their ICIP to the state by July 15th. And so we need to provide the worksheet that's even prior to our meeting to discuss the projects, because our deadline is not until August 19th. And so at this point, I am asking that you identify which project you think you would like to share with the other entities, sorry. On our current ICIP, our number one project is the county fairground improvements. And I was wondering if that is the projects that you want us to submit to them for inclusion on their ICIPs. I'll just quickly read you through the list of the top few. The second priority is new county government offices. Third was road department equipment. Fourth was the 4x4 sheriff patrol vehicles. Fifth was green road improvements. Sixth was McNabb Road, which we're finishing up. Seventh was the security fencing, which we're finishing up. And then it goes on. I don't know if you want me to read more.
And Mr. Chair, Commission, if I may. So one of the things with this, as Ms. Allen stated, so we're going to be putting this on our ICIP, and we're asking them to put, our top priority on theirs. And it doesn't have to be anywhere near the top, just so long it is on the current year. That way, it also helps us show on our application, the regionalization, the working together with the priorities. And it just helps, not just us, but it helps them as well achieve funding as well. If they have more, the more people, the more ICIPs this project is on, the more likely it's going to be funded. Even more so than just if it's just one representative or senator saying, okay, well, here's a little bit. I mean, it'll bring some other people involved with it as well. Because, I guess the way the capital outlay project works, sometimes it's just one senator, sometimes they're getting other people, other representatives. And so it just gives us more exposure, saying, hey, look, Torrance County's project is potentially on, 7 entities. This project, it's a higher priority, and it just kind of hopefully will bump us up. I mean, it's something we're going to be trying. But also, if we're going to be asking that of the other entities to do that, I think it's just fair that, we do that as well with them for their top priority, just so it's on there for everyone. So that was kind of the intent behind this. I know we had, when I first got in, I had actually spoke with several of the mayors about this moving forward. It's something that I think would definitely help, but it also will help with the land grants. It'll help with all of them if we have this on there. And Cheryl's absolutely right with respect to the projects and the timing. I'm not sure what EMWT or EMW, if they're considered special, they're not, do they fall in with the normal schedule as well? So this would be one as well that we would like to reach out to them.
I'm not sure.
And make sure that they include this on theirs as well. But their deadlines are earlier than ours.
And it's a simple process because we're supposed to include each other's basically worksheets verbatim. So we just exchange worksheets for the projects that we want to feature on the other ICIPs, and then we add them into our own. So it's a simple process. And in the past, we had worked with Torrance, and we basically added their worksheet for their community center and their well project, which is now apparent that they didn't really need that.
They don't want to get.
This is a matter that was before us at our commission affiliate meeting. Was they encouraged us to regionalize our ICIP plans to get more traction, to get more funding. So I'm glad we're taking it on.
Logically, the county fairground improvements is a logical one, just because it services all constituents. Restoration, preservation of historic records. I kind of put that in the same category. It's for all constituents.
I found new information out about a possible funding source for that. I don't know if you'll. That would be at this point.
Maybe.
Can we also be partner with soil water conservation? Because they go through their own ICIP,
Yes,
because that, since I'm a board member, I think it would be beneficial.
okay.
Not only because of me, but because of the soil and water conservation and what they do out there.
Yeah, we could do that. In our initial email that we reached out to, we did include them, but we can.
Yeah, if you can reach out to them, like DTR, or I don't know who's running these Torrance.
Leonard Howell,
From Edgewood.
Leonard Howell is over East Torrance, or is district manager, I believe.
That's correct. You don't need an answer today, do you?
Well, for those special districts, their deadline's July 15th, so we'll need to get that to them in time for them to act. Sorry.
I think the county fairgrounds is a no-brainer.
Yeah, we've been on it for quite a while.
Okay.
It's my opinion.
You just want our number one and that's it?
Yeah, that's what we were reaching out, was just trying to get, at least include
I would say.
one project.
And Mr. Chair, Commission, so one of the things that we're going to do as we move forward is when we actually get to our ICIP process, we'll also have you guys identify the projects you want them to include next year, but since we have to start somewhere, that's why we're just asking you to pick outside of the normal ICIP process.
Gotcha.
Well, it's on our number one, and I think all three commissioners agree that it should continue to be number one.
Do you need a motion for that? You just need consensus. don't
Just
you?
need consensus.
There you go. Moving on to section 13, managers report.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, I have been very busy working on all the commission meetings that we've had and resolution. I do not have anything further right now for my manager's report.
Could you briefly bring us up to date on, I know we've had a lot of vacant positions. Where are we at on that? Have we filled any of them?
We have our HR director here currently.
Kristen Oliver, Human Resources Director. We've actually filled quite a few and a lot of them closed yesterday. We had to repost one of them. We didn't have any qualified candidates. They didn't meet the minimum qualifications, so we reposted the position. But we have narrowed it down immensely. So we hired 2 appraiser apprentices. We have interviews for the emergency manager specialist this week. Throwing me on the spot. I could have brought notes, guys.
Well, you can just say we're
We
making
hired a
headway.
zoning officer, admin assistant for the zoning department, EMTs for the fire department, the fire department's admin assistant, executive assistants new. So quite a few new positions and a new one in the road department.
Yeah.
There's not too many vacant left.
It sounds like you need to leave some employees for us private people to have some employees around Torrance.
And we hired 55 interns.
Smokes.
As you can see.
Summer interns, yes.
Impressive.
Like I said, leave some employees for us in the private.
That's all the questions I have for now. Commissioner McCall?
I don't have anything really prepared, but as this week has gone by, I just want to give a shout out to our county manager. As she has put in an amazing amount of hours prepping me as a commissioner. And guys, I think we have one of the best in the state right there. So.
I agree.
As my. Oh, this is my certificate to you.
I accept it and I appreciate it.
As she doesn't get to have an extra day off. Because are you, you're contract.
I'm contract
You don't get
24/7, feels like.
to be nominated for that. So I will nominate you and you accepted it. Sorry, you don't get an extra day off, but good job. And I'm proud of you.
I'm grateful for the rain to begin with. I do want to, this weekend was pretty tough on me. After that meeting Friday, my phone started ringing probably every 30 seconds. I'm assuming trolls. My face is all over the internet now. It was a wonderful feeling, especially when my kids bring it up and say, look, Dad, is this true? And I had many reporters come out, and these reporters really tried hard to make the crowd you saw Friday to be violent, to be disrespectful, to be even unhinged as some reporters. And I'm bringing this up because I want to make it very clear. Firstly, those of you here, we have some regulars. I appreciate the regulars. And I also appreciate those individuals that spoke out. And my answer to these reporters was they were not unruly and violent. Yes, I would call them passionate about what they believe, about what they see. And yeah, there's some stuff I don't appreciate, but that's neither here nor there. Matter of factly, they did bring concerns to us. And what I want all of the public to know is those concerns are taken solidly. This resolution is the beginning of listening to them. We could have just as easily canvassed that election, not given them the time of day other than a public comment. This commission does realize that there is a lot more to it and there are ways to do it. And that's the direction we're going down. We may not like all of the laws. There's still laws, there's still statutes. And we have to learn how to get through it effectively in order to turn a boat, because that's what you're talking about. Or to say, we like the direction this boat is going. And when you start talking about democracy, we must always remember that it is the majority rule. And so as commissioners, we do have to look at everybody out there and all of the constituents, not just a handful here or there. So with that being said, I'm good. I do want to reiterate Commissioner McCall. I'm very grateful for the job you do, man.
Thank you.
I'll follow with that. We have a great county manager. I know we do. I also want to thank the emergency manager for Torreon had a water issue. They were able to bring bottled water. I heard last night, I think they delivered bottled water. The road department was hauling water with their tanker truck up there. I want to thank Tahike donated some water for Torreon. And I believe Estancia donated some water for Torreon. I don't know about Mount Airy yet, but those, I want to thank those communities for doing that. I think that was showing that we can help each other when the need is there in Torrance County.
Is that resolved? I mean, I was made aware of it, but I didn't look at the details.
No.
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, it's not resolved yet. There's an issue of the well possibly going somewhat dry. We're thankful, extremely thankful for the rain that has come. But there was appropriations for a new well to be drilled. The money has not been received for that yet. So we're going to be visiting with the state to see if there's some way that we could work with them. I'm not sure what can be done to get things moving quicker rather than later. And our emergency manager, I want to give props to her too. She's been working tirelessly, trying to get resources as best as she can. Right now, the water buffaloes are being utilized up north, as you can imagine, with the fire and different issues they have up there. So we're thankful for also Albuquerque and the Bernalillo County Water Authority was sending over, if they haven't already, I know they're scheduled to send over 6,000 gallons of water.
I don't know if you got.
So that's from Samantha. Let me know that as well, our emergency manager. So just wanted to show appreciation for their effort in helping us as well.
I've been talking to those people. So I also want to, if this young lady is our intern, why don't we introduce them to the commission? And what they do.
Oh, white eyes. Come on, it's not that bad.
I will introduce mine and then, because I don't know all of their names. But I had 2 interns this year. So I have Sheree Medina and Jade Correa.
Hello, welcome.
Stand up and say your name, please.
I'm Juliana Moreno. I work in her office.
Manager's office.
Intern. I'm Jenna Valencia and I work in the clerk's office. I'm Deslin Carrion. I work for the grants department.
One more. Wait a minute, Jesse.
I'm Uzaria Sawyer and I work in the grants department.
Thank you, Liz. I hope your experience is good
We have one more.
with this. You learned a lot.
I did.
Oh, you have another one?
I'm Viviana Sanchez and I work for the clerk's office.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner, if you just indulge me for a minute, my intern's on their way back down. I would like for them to be acknowledged as well.
Yes, sir.
Commissioners, would you indulge the high school principal back here for a moment? I would like to thank everyone here for the government lesson that has been afforded to these young people.
Mrs. Johnston, what you have to say is very important. Would you please come to the microphone for everybody to be able to hear you?
I was interrupting. I didn't think.
No, I don't think anybody would object to that.
I don't.
I thought she was principal. She didn't need a microphone, but she.
I was using my teacher voice. I would like to thank the commission, all of the county employees, everyone, every adult who has been a part of this today for the government lesson you were afforded. I do not know how much of that you really understood, but you saw mutual respect in action and the way that we can come together as a county to do the best that we can for Torrance County. And you are the future. But thank you so very much for the professionalism that was exhibited today in addressing an issue where we all have our opinions and showing us how government can help us come together to address those differences in a positive manner, because we have to reach consensus. We have to. So thank you. I couldn't be quiet.
Just because you're a principal, only reason.
There's some more.
Mr. Chair, members, thank you for your patience. I would like to allow my interns to introduce themselves.
I am Loriani. I'm Myra Quintana. I'm Ryan.
Welcome.
I just wanted to point out for a moment, Loriani Lopez is interested in a career in realty. And so I told her this is the perfect office to be working with. So I plan on spending some time with Loriani and kind of telling her not the things to do as a realtor.
That's all I have.
Thank you. Next, Board of County Commission meeting will be July 13th, 2022. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. We're adjourned. Thank you all.
I need to get that to Shelley or?
Anybody looked outside? Yes, well, actually, I sent her an email and asked if she could get it.
Commissioner, thank you.
Oh, okay. Let me take it to her.
Ready to talk.
If I'm gonna get more information on the transmission line, try to get you all.
And they'll have a process and I'll be there. Other ones will be, if they come from the state, they don't